Well, of course, news coming in tonight then that the president has missed yet another Reserve Bank deadline to answer questions from the financial surveillance team on what exactly transpired in that robbery and if, in fact, there were any laws that were broken in as far as the handling of foreign currency is concerned. One party that has been raising alarm bells over this issue, the Economic Freedom Fighters. In fact, it was that organization that brought up even the question of the Reserve Bank matter during the president's question and answer session in Parliament 2 weeks ago. Sinao Tambo is the EFF national spokesperson. He joins me in studio. Sinao, good evening to you. Thanks for your time. You were already very upset about the fact that the president has in many instances delayed, and I say many, taking into account the public protector and those questions that she had sent to him, and of course the investigation right now by the Reserve Bank where the president has not met deadlines. You're already upset about the process. How are you feeling tonight now that you know that he's missed yet another deadline?
Look, it's upsetting, and it's we're making a joke just now about how upset I am already facially. I mean, it's very upsetting that Ramaphosa is insisting on not being held accountable, but the institutions of South Africa are being complicit in that. I mean, the Reserve Bank asked him a simple question: what are the origins of the money and what are the underlying transactions to this money? On the 20th of June, he'd already gone around addressing ANC meetings, saying that he sold game. We've seen revelations recently that he received $580,000 from a Sudanese businessman who never even claimed the so-called buffaloes he was going to buy after 2 years. But he can't answer those two simple questions from the Reserve Bank. Where does the money come from? What transactions underpin them? And the Reserve Bank is continuously giving him an extension. They gave him 21 days initially to answer. They gave him a 15-day extension to answer. He gave a response, which took him weeks in between that, and that response was not sufficient. They gave him until today to account again, and now he has been granted yet another extension. So we think it's unjustifiable by the Reserve Bank to give him another extension. What we think the Reserve Bank should be doing is continuing with that investigation and advising the relevant legal authorities, be it SAPS or be it the National Prosecuting Authority, that this man is not cooperating with our investigation. And from the very basis, the very fact that they're still asking what the origin and underlying transactions of the money are, it means it was never declared to them. There was no foreign currency ever declared to them, which was found in Palapala Farm. So they must proceed with their investigation and note very stringently that Ramaphosa is not cooperative. Instead of giving him non-ending extensions and allowing him to continue to try and pretend as if things are normal when he's a criminal.
We'll continue with the issue of the president himself and the action that you're planning in a moment. But I want to focus on the Reserve Bank shortly. The follow-up questions that you have sent to the Reserve Bank in getting the bank to explain why it is that the president was given these extensions, what have they said to you? And even again, with today's extension, that communication that has taken place, what has it been?
There's been no explicit explanation for today's extension in particular. But we know that the extensions Ramaphosa seeks from both the Public Protector and the Reserve Bank have been based on the fact that he has a so-called busy schedule. And that is not the truth. I mean, if we remember Parliament, where he refused for almost 3 hours to answer a simple question on Palapala Farm, he had said his wife is ill. The following day he was addressing business people in Busa. After that, he was addressing another forum out of the country. So he creates an impression that he has a busy schedule, and that is why he can't account to these institutions. But funny enough, he says to Parliament that he cannot account to Parliament, which is the authority that holds the executive accountable, because he's still busy accounting to all of these other authorities. But the Reserve Bank is giving him these extensions because he's not accounting to it. SARS is completely silent in terms of whether there was any tax deductions based on this money. The South African Police Services has not handed over a docket to the National Prosecuting Authority. So which institution is Ramaphosa actually accounting to? It's not legal enforcement. It's not the people of South Africa through Parliament. So he's simply stalling. We're not sure if he's thinking that he must drag this out until he thinks he gets a re-election at the ANC conference. We're not sure if he thinks we're just going to get tired and forget and lose an appetite for this thing. But we're not going to. But it is clear that he has no intention to account to any institution or any legal enforcement agency and ultimately not even to the people of South Africa through Parliament.
Vincent Magwenya, speaking to our reporter Ziyanda Ngobo earlier, said in terms of the missed deadline for today, said he believed that the entire situation was being blown out of proportion. What's your view on that?
That shows that he's a spokesperson who doesn't take crime seriously in this country. He doesn't have an appreciation of the damages of money laundering on an economy. He doesn't have an appreciation of the wasteful use of state resources in concealing a crime. A helicopter was used to go and fetch suspects in Namibia and bring them back here. Staff of the president took money from a Sudanese businessman without it going through any financial institution. And when the president thought that this money must be kept safe, he said it must be removed from a safe and taken somewhere else. And in his mind, a safer place was not a bank, it was a couch. So
and you're talking, what you're talking about now is what we understand to be his answers before the public protector, although of course the public protector has not come out to say this is indeed what he has answered. It's based on just the reporting that has been done. Absolutely.
There's an impression that this is part of the leaked responses to the public protector. But back to Mangwenya, I think the spokesperson of the president should rather stick to no comment, because the more he seems to respond, the more he seems to undermine the intelligence of the people of South Africa collectively. I mean, last week when he was being asked, I think it was on the SABC and even on this platform, as to will the president meet the deadline of the 8th of September, his answer was he will endeavor to do so. You could see that there was no intention to meet this deadline. There could never be a concrete commitment to meet this deadline because Ramaphosa had no intention to meet it. He knows that he's criminally guilty. He knows that he's contradicted himself in public responses. He's contradicted himself perhaps even to the public protector. So now he's trying to salvage that situation by buying time. We don't know if he's attempting to do a cover-up. We don't know if he's concocting lies. We have been told that he's been trying to backdate police documents and affidavits of the crime being reported, when he himself has already said to the public that he reported this matter to Wally Roda, who was part of his personal protection services. So Ramaphosa is fearful of contradiction. And I think that is why he's struggling to answer to all of these institutions.
So now, as it stands, you as the EFF are not letting this go. The public protector has continuously asked that she be given space to be able to conduct this investigation without interference, and part of that interference being described really following what has been mounting pressure from political organizations like yourself for the public protector to release even just the initial answers that the president has given. She said it would actually be in breach of her regulatory obligations and would compromise the investigation in order to do it. So what are you going to be doing outside her office tomorrow?
Look, she's singing from the same hymn book as Ramaphosa. He can't answer in Parliament because he thinks it's going to compromise an investigation, even though there's no judicial process that prohibits him from answering. So she's singing from the same hymn book. The people of South Africa want accountability.
No.
But
the public protector is saying, we are busy with an investigation. Give us time to conclude it. Releasing any answers on this investigation to the public right now would be premature. I would be breaking the statutory obligations that I have as a public protector, under which I should be operating when conducting such investigations. Is that not a fair argument?
I don't think it's fair. Okay, let's look at the legislation that guides her. The Executive Members Ethics Act says that she must release a report 30 days after the initial complaint has been laid. Today is the 91st day that she has been conducting an investigation on this, and she's still saying she's unable to provide an answer. So there's either two possibilities here. She's deliberately dragging her feet and refuses to release this report, or Ramaphosa is not giving her answers and she's allowing him to drag this process. Either one of the two possibilities results in us as the people of South Africa, political parties that represent the people of South Africa, to continue to demand accountability. Kathy, we were condemned in the 5th Parliament under Jacob Zuma for not holding the executive accountable and not having sufficient mechanisms to hold the executive accountable. So the efforts of opposition political parties in this country are not interference. They are holding the executive accountable. We are doing this to ensure that we do not get recorded in history as being part and parcel of a complicity of covering up corruption, as we're seeing with all of these institutions and the people who lead them now.
Very briefly for me, what will you be doing outside the office tomorrow?
Look, we'll be marching from Loftus Versfeld Stadium from 11 o'clock. The leaders of opposition parties, the Commander-in-Chief of the EFF, Julius Malema, will be part of that, marching to the Office of the Public Protector, demanding that she releases the Pala report. It's over 90 days. It's long overdue. And if she wants to salvage any sort of reputation in the legal fraternity, she must release that report and not be part and parcel of a cover-up.
All right. Sinawa Tambo is the EFF national spokesperson. So certainly the pressure and the anti-mounting where this particular story is concerned.